Markus Fischer.
Monsieur le Président, Your Excellencies, Monsieur le Secrétaire Général, honorable jury, apologize for bringing some British Parliament into this French debate. Dear Chairperson, it's nice to take a break from having to yell, "Order!" I hope, for your sake, you don't have to do it too much tonight. Dear Timekeeper, you're doing a marvelous job. I might need you in the House of Commons. Dear Government, you're definitely a bunch of overexcitable chaps. Fellow teammates of the opposition, dear audience, good evening. My name is John Bercow, Speaker of the House of Commons. I was purely engaging in my job. Order! But some of you seem to gain a significant amount of joy from seeing the debates in Westminster. So here I am at the Festival de Cannes preview panel, nominated for Best YouTube Sensation. Apparently I have broken the internet. Well, for once, I'll step out of my role as speaker and address what the Right Honourable ladies and gentlemen of the government have said. The Right Honourable Lady Marine said, she gave one example of Donald Trump and mentioned something of the nuclear button. And the second speaker talked about that all politicians are fools. But we had one example, which was Donald Trump. And I don't see how one example of Donald Trump can lead to the conclusion that all politicians are fools and are running the show, because this is certainly not the case. She also mentioned infotainment of politicians, but playing the fool is not the same as being a fool. No, thank you. Playing the fool is not the same as being a fool and running the show. Now, let me give you an outlook. As Michelle has previewed in the intro, James, you demonstrated that in entertainment, fools only appear in the show. Sophie, you will argue that no one runs the show when it comes to social movements. And I will talk about what I know best. And like the honorable ladies and gentlemen of the government, and if you watched my YouTube videos, it's obviously not fashion trends or ties, but it's politics. Political leaders, by nature, cannot be fools running the show. First, because those political leaders you call fools are wise in having a strategic agenda. They show judgment through this. And second, even if political leaders appear to be fools, they do not run the show because our political system doesn't allow them to do so.
Point of information, please?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Fischer, do you think that Nigel Farage had a wise agenda?
I believe that the agenda of Nigel Farage got him much more forward and won him a landslide election. Well, he didn't win the election, but he made a lot of votes, and he won a lot of votes through his wise, judgmental thinking. First point. Political leaders aren't fools because they are wise. Calling a politician a fool is purely judgmental. Just because you don't agree with his or her point, it seems he or she is foolish. Well, let's look at Brexit. As Speaker of the House of Commons, I have some first-hand insights. Breaking news. The UK Parliament actually just reached a deal with the European Union. Sorry if you believe that. That's, of course, an April Fool's. It's not going to happen anytime soon. And either way, they're going to have to reach a deal soon because my vocal cords are getting depleted from all the order. Let me get back to my point. Remainers often call Brexiteers fools and vice versa. That's because they aim to discredit the other side. But both follow a wise, sophisticated agenda showing judgment. Political leaders aren't unwise. They may pretend to be foolish to appeal to their electorate, but they do so out of rationality. And that is good judgment. Donald Trump won the election. He convinced 66 million, no thank you, 66 million Americans to vote for him, and thereby won the presidential elections, right? So would you call these 66 million voters of Donald Trump a fool?
Point of information?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I agree with you. I'm not a fool. What do you have to say? Do you agree with me that I am not a fool?
You're not a fool in the case, Donald Trump is not a fool in the case that he won the US election, and no fool could win the US election because this is a hard task. A fool as in a person who is lacking judgment because he was able to judge where his voters would be and he won the election. Second point, even if political leaders appear to be fools, they can't run the show because of our political system. There are counterpowers, checks and balances. Think of political institutions. In democracy, the executive is not almighty due to the separation of power. That's even true for controlling the prime minister during Brexit, which a nightmare indeed, but at least we get fantastic memes, right? It can also be something other than political opposition. In the United States, we, for example, have the power of the judiciary against Donald Trump's travel ban. And we have the Senate, which blocked him on his wall. So even if these political leaders were fools, politicians don't run the show because they are part of a system. Now, let me conclude. James, you demonstrated that in entertainment, fools only appear in the show. Now, I have shown that political leaders aren't fools because first, the political leader you might think to be a fool is actually wise in having a strategic agenda and showing judgment in how to win elections. And second, even if they were fools, there are counterpowers, so they can't run the show. Next, Sophie is going to explain that no one runs the show when it comes to social movements. And lastly, Pierre will summarize what nominees had to say. Yes, we can. Ladies and gentlemen, please reject this motion, because tonight we need the nose to the left. Let's have the nose have it tonight. The nose will have it.